fights and screams, every broken dream. I'm taking it back. I'm taking it back. Whoa.
All right, Effects Radio, this is DJ Kid along with the artist JSP. How are you guys doing today?
Good, thank you. Thanks
Yeah, really well.
for having us today.
So, obviously, I can tell by your accent, you're not from the States necessarily.
No.
No, we're in a state from on the other side of the world, so
All right. Do you guys station up here from time to time?
no.
All right. Well, so you guys are new to the scene. As far as JSP, your singles coming out, that was last year you guys started releasing, right?
Yep.
And this is your first major cut.
Yeah.
And so, according to your bio, you guys have been around for a while, but this is your first major push into the industry. Can you let us know a little bit about you guys? Like, where do you come from and kind of why you're here? And what does JSP stand for? The whole bit. Let's share with our listeners what your beginnings are.
Yeah. So I guess we've both always done music growing up. We both grew up just being in a lot of different Christian bands through our teenage years and as we got older. And we actually met through a band that James had started. So he started a new band and they were looking for a lead singer and I auditioned and joined, and that's how we met and sort of started dating. We're engaged pretty quickly and married shortly after. So
Well, when you know, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly right. And so music's always just been a big part of who we are and what brought us together and a big part of our relationship. So yeah, and I mean that band was around for a while, but then that kind of took a sidestep as we, I think all the band members were kind of all getting married and we were all having families and having kids and things like that. So things sort of took a sidestep for a while.
Right.
And yeah, I think we continue to still always have that passion and love for music, and we're still writing on and off a little bit together. And yeah, particularly in the last few years, unfortunately, my mum actually passed away a couple of years ago, and that was kind of a push for us to kind of go, you know what, we don't want to get older and go, oh, we never did this. We've always talked about doing this. Life, you just don't know how long you've got, and we just kind of wanted to make the most of it and do it. So that was sort of the push to do that.
Yeah, and I think also a big part of it too. I mean, we did have a lot of underlying, I guess we know as effects of hurt and pain that we'd experienced, particularly in the Christian environment. It was a bit of disillusionment too, particularly in I guess some of the experiences we had, what you would call in the Christian music scene. But there was an element too, for a long time, we felt like I'd given up on trying as well. And
based from the concept of like church hurt and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, so on that, there was, I mean, one of our songs is called Gains, but there was just this element that we just felt like we were playing this game in the system, and you just had to do what people in the know told you what to do, and the reality is you end up becoming something that you're not, and you just want to be genuine to what God called you to do, and just felt like a bit of a struggle in that as well. So, um, in regards to like when Sarah said when her mum passed away, that was also a catalyst for us to actually deal with some of the stuff that had actually happened in our lives as well. And I think after that process, we could actually see the way that we're reviewing things was affecting our ability to do music, but also I also believe that it was a catalyst for us to God to give us what I would call essentially what is in our ministry in terms of dealing with that subject matter. We've got a very big heart for people who've been hurt by the church, people who walked out the back door who've been judged for things they probably never should have had, and their experiences of church have it's not what church should have been, and but that's what they've related, God to, and um, we're we were very passionate about just being open and vulnerable about our experiences because we honestly think that what we went through, a lot of people are, but they don't actually talk about it. And I think being open and honest about our struggles in the Christian faith is an essential part of being a Christian because it just normalize it into the to extent of that we actually all go through these troubles. So
Right.
that led to what I would call an incredible miracle. So one time Sarah was talking to someone and they said, "What's the dream always been to be?" And she said to do music, and they said, "So why not?" And she came home and told me that, and I said, "So why not?" So we've been huge fans of the band Disciple for over 20 years plus,
Right.
and I've been
Insane
following Josiah.
guys.
Yeah, they're incredible, and
The
just
best.
been following Josiah's work for, and not only in the band but also his production work, and I just emailed him the
Mhm.
demos, and honestly thought we never heard back from him, and heard back from him the next day, and the next thing you know, this happened.
Yeah.
When we're still pinching ourselves, that
Yeah.
we've got.
Yeah, it's insane. So AJ sent me um it's not over, I think is what the song was. Just hey, check these guys out. It might work for your rock show because I've got a rock show going on. And I'm like, okay. And so I checked it out and I was like, oh my gosh, like that's actually like really good. And so that's how we got onto you guys here at the Effect. And then finding out that you guys actually had a full blown project happening. We're pretty happy that you guys locked on to be our artist of the month, and yeah, it's pretty cool. So, real quick, JSP. I imagine that's your guys' names put together, right?
Yep. So James and Sarah Pedersen.
Okay, okay.
Or our backup is, as someone says, does that mean Jesus saves people? So yeah, that sounds good
Yeah,
too.
yeah, that's great. Yeah, my dad goes by the name of TJ, and it was not his legal name, but he used to always say, "Yeah, yeah, my name's TJ. Trust Jesus."
Yeah.
Easy to remember. All right, we're going to dive into some of the content of some of these songs here in just in a minute. But what is your guys' musical influences that influenced the album work that you guys have?
It's quite interesting because this was the first time in the process where actually Josiah Prince was really good in actually in talking about how your influences influence your style and actually to recognize them.
Mhm.
And it was the first time we actually sat down. So our musical style influences Evanescence is a big one, particularly for my
I
wife,
heard it.
Alexa.
Yeah.
Um, but for me, I'm really eclectic. So I had a grandfather that was very big on bringing. He brought a lot of the Christian artists over to Australia for tours. So everything from DeGarmo and Key,
Yeah.
Kenny Marks. You'll hear Michael W. Smith, Carlos Santana. I love his guitar work. You'll hear some influences of that.
You're not related to
Um,
the Small Bones at all, are you?
uh, no, well, we they're very good at what they do.
Yeah.
But I'm probably more. Like I'm very eclectic in terms of styles of those sort of styles, but yeah, there's tons of everything from probably Disciple, Seventh Day Slumber,
Mhm.
uh, Atlas, you name it,
Right.
and but I guess for us, you'll find one of I think the best description is our music is very dramatic, and that's sort of reflective of particularly in the style that I write that I use music to express the emotion or try to tell the story in
Right.
conjunction with it as well. But also love throwing in surprises. I don't like we throw in key changes, timing changes. We break the rules. Because for me, I love music when it's going somewhere and it does something totally unexpected that you go, where did that come from? That was cool. So that's
Yeah.
one of our
No,
one
I
of our
think it's
key.
hilarious. I'm an artist as well, and I think about that myself from time to time, and I heard some of these changes that you've included in your music, and it's like, wow, okay, this guy gets it, because it's telling a story, it's moving through, and operating in what it is you're wanting to portray. How you arrange a song, like you said, down to your key changes, down to timing changes. Your the story you're telling is what the impact is. The music along with the lyrics, you know, tells the whole conglomerate, and I was able to sense that from what I've heard from you guys.
Thank you.
And
And
I think that was one thing working with Josiah he liked about us as well because he's very into that as well. Disciple do that a lot as well in their music, and but he said that was one key thing he loved because it's like kept him on his toes.
right. Well, it's not formulaic in the sense of of what's always expected in a rock tune or as a CHR hit, and that's the whole thing is it helps you be yourself. It helps you be your own mark, and I think it's pretty cool. Um, and so, oh man, I lost my question. I had one for you. Based on taking it back. That was actually the single. Sorry, taking it back is the single that I heard from AJ. That particular song, the minute I heard it, I realized exactly kind of where you were coming from. And so I guess that's my question I wanted to ask. With these songs, who is the lyrical writer, or is it all one person or the other? I mean, obviously, James, you're the musical writer in the sense, correct?
Yeah. So in writing, it was pretty much myself and Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
And taking it back along, there were three songs on the album. Taking it back, It's Not Your Fault, and New Eyes. They were actually songs that I wanted. They were actually themes that I deliberately wrote down that I wanted to write about. This song was really about creating an anthem, which was our anthem about one, God's restoration, but two, looking back and identifying what had actually happened to us and calling it out for what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Then, through the process of understanding, when you've gone through abuse, there's many different stages of healing you go through, and one of the big ones for me was the time I lost. Time is something, a commodity that you can never get back in
Right.
your life. And the whole concept of taking it back is to take back what we believe was stolen from us
Mm-hmm.
through the actions and the experiences that we went through, I dare say, in the Christian environment. So,
It kind
part
of
of the
ties
whole,
back to that old Christian song, Enemy's Camp.
Mm,
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, and so that's where my mind went, was like, wow, they're they're
Yeah.
they're they're recreating it, like you said, a new anthem out of that song.
Yeah.
yeah, and one of the key things we very conscious of is that you can stay in that place of why did this have to happen to me? But for me, it was a big change in my life where I stopped living in the past.
Hmm.
My past defined me for such a long period of time, and that's probably one of my favorite song lines in the song. The past is behind me and no longer defines me, and I'll stand and fight where I used to, run and hide. Um, thinking,
Right, which many people do.
and I think it's a natural response, particularly when you don't know what you've been through. But again, one of the beautiful lines in the song in the second verse, "You spent me like a currency till there was nothing left to me," and it was trying to convey too about being treated like a commodity,
Hmm.
not as a brother or sister in Christ. And I think a lot of people do that, and I think for us, it was deliberately our first song we put out, um, because we wanted to um, define who we were and what we were about, but also for us, we also joke our music is our therapy because we've lived every word of every song. So for us, it's just a constant reminder, for ourselves.
Hmm.
In the bridge where it says what was meant for evil, God will use for good, that really just sums up what we're about and who we are. Because
Right.
for us, it's like, we don't always understand why things happen in our lives and why we've had to go through certain things. But if we can turn that around and use what we've been through to then help other people who've been through similar things or can relate to what we're going through and know that there's other people out there who've been through the same thing and can sympathize or, just be understanding.
Hmm.
If we can use our experiences to help other people, then that makes it worth it. You don't feel like you've gone through it for nothing.
Right.
And
And I think it's awesome that you guys you have a kind of a mental health awareness style approach, you mental and emotional health. Abuse happens, and a lot of people don't like to talk about it because, well, it's one of those things that kind of makes it abuse, like you go through these things and you're treated a certain way by people, and it's meant to make you be quiet, but you guys are taking a stand and standing up and addressing not only what happens in church ministry, and I've gone through a lot of stuff myself, so I understand personally kind of what you guys are speaking to. But if you're ministry people in a church, Generally, you can get used and abused, basically, just wound up and dried out in the sense of what your talent is, and then almost left like you didn't even make a mark. Like, hey, thanks for giving me all your stuff, and see ya. And that happens in relationships, church relationships, happens in regular marital and couple relationships. It happens everywhere, and you guys are kind of talking about this and trying to as you said, bring this back full circle and say, all right, let's stand up and let's battle this out and bring the bring a victory here. Let's walk in this victory, because as you've also said, God's got this. He's making what was supposed to be a defeat into a victory.
Right.
Yeah, and life experience also teaches you that in most cases, when people who do this sort of thing don't intentionally do it, they don't understand what they're doing.
Hmm.
But it's secondly too, it's also good to be able to call out that sort of behavior, but also be able to set personal boundaries in your own life.
Right.
So for me personally, I was always valued for what I could do, not who I was. And like on my local church worship team I'm on, I said from the start, I've been burned by this, but my relationship with you is going to be more important than me being able to play or do sound or whatever. And
Hmm.
if the two get out of whack, that's a that's a sign for me that I need to either pull back and fix that. But
Yeah.
I want to be working with people who care about me and my walk in Christ more than my musical ability. And for people who are blessed in that area, it is very hard because it's a commodity that's very wanted in that space. But in terms of that, I think um, you know uh, areas of conflict, being able to set personal boundaries in your life and relationships is something that we don't do well in the church.
Yeah.
And um,
We
but
forget that
yeah,
the church is full of hurt people, and
yeah,
we come in there and we act like we're all better now, even though we definitely aren't.
and I think that's sort of the one big thing we're about too. Just be real.
Yeah.
You can't come in each week and put on the perfect face that everything's right in your life, because if it's not, then there's something wrong with you.
Right.
The reality is that being open about the struggles lets people walk. When the Bible says, "Cry with those who are crying, laugh with those who are laughing," but to be able to be that support network, because when you start hiding things, that's when problems start happening, because it just keeps compounding to a point where eventually it'll either come out or explode.
Right. Well, and you mentioned also in your bio here, let's see, so that you guys tell the truth while in the same breath affirming over and over that a victim is never the one to blame. Now, in this day and age, everybody wants to be a victim, even the person that causes the offense. Um,
Yeah,
you know, but the reality of it is even as a victim, God tells us to forgive 70 times seven, right?
yeah.
And so, in your mind, how to be able to help our listeners move past, these things that they may have gone through, offenses that have occurred, that they might not be able to resolve with the other person, like what Matthew says to do. How can they step out of being the victim minded and into a victorious mind?
Look, it can be a short process, or it can be a long process. Um, the reality when you're trapped in a victim's mindset is that the first thing you're going to do is to try and protect yourself. And in most cases, that sees you withdrawing from the world, so withdrawing from other people, because you don't want to be hurt.
Mhm.
I think the reality for me, after speaking with some people, was that I didn't understand what spiritual abuse was. So when you don't understand what's happened to you, you feel like you have been physically beaten up mentally,
Mhm.
is the way I would explain it. And once I understood, when somebody said, "No, what happened to you, Jane, should never have happened to you. It was wrong."
Yeah.
Then, then I think half the issue is understanding what happened to you, and then, for me, a big thing was understanding triggers. Like I would walk into a church and my body's saying, "Get the hell out of here,"
Hmm.
because the reality is, when you stick your hand in the fire, you get burned. When
Right.
when you've been hurt psychologically, in that case, is that your body has those reactions, and when you're taught to say, "So why am I reacting like this?" and actually then figure out what is. I think one of the big things I've figured out too is that when someone gets angry at me now, I actually don't respond or it doesn't affect me is because I can understand, hey, something I've either done or something has triggered them. And I'm not using trigger just in a certain sense, but there's something that's I've said or something that I've done that has, obviously affected them in a way that, something might have happened to them in the past. But it separates them taking an attack personally or
Hmm.
every individual work personally and actually having a lot more compassion for them and say, hey, I'm really sorry, do you want to talk about this? Or, um, I think what I wish was instead of people telling me, oh, that didn't happen because you didn't have enough faith, or that didn't happen because you didn't pray hard enough, or you weren't up reading your Bible early enough, and stuff like that. The reality, bad things happen to us in life. It's actually a normal part of life. But, instead of the criticizing or trying to find answers, saying, hey, you know what? I don't have the answers for you right now, but you know what? Do you want to go for coffee? Let them talk and walk the journey with them.
Right.
And half the issue is the reestablishment of trust for people in the Christian environment. If you've experienced, just
It's
all
important to
years.
always point back to Jesus Christ, but also at the same time letting people know that hey, I've been there. I understand. Let's talk and let's walk through this together. Which is another important part of what Scripture says to do is to be accountable one to another. And walk through in relationship with one another. Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's the whole point of, which is it says, to be the hands and feet of Jesus as
Hmm.
well.
Hmm.
And not, well, you haven't been in the church for a week, you're out of fellowship, and so you're out of fellowship being out of God's will.
Right.
Well, so no one's going to walk back into church after being criticized like that.
Right.
And the other reality too is like there are a lot of people who at the moment church is not a safe space for them.
Hmm.
But church is not a physical building on Sunday. We are the church,
Right.
and going out and establishing a relationship with people. Look, some people might come back very quickly. Some might it might take years, but at the end of it, God still loves them,
Absolutely.
and we're called to to reach out to them.
Right. Hey, let's go ahead and shift gears a little bit and move into more the band aspect. Uh, do you guys have a full 2026? Do you have a lot of concerts coming up like that? Do you guys travel, or are you just a recording band, as it were?
Well, we did our album launch. We're keen to do shows. Um, it's sort of we do have our drummer and another guitar player, so we're working. It's very we're sort of unique because we've done everything back to front.
Yeah.
Traditionally, of like everyone saying, well, you haven't worked hard, you haven't gone and gigged in the pubs and the clubs and
Right.
played gigs and that. We're sort of not, probably, at this stage of life, looking to be out on the road every week, but we definitely would love one day to come to the US and do it with somebody or
At
those
least
sort
at least hit some festivals, right?
hit some festivals. And I mean, the US has always got a bigger scene than here in Australia. We've got a few.
Hmm.
One of the other things too is we believe we're the only Australian Christian rock band over here,
As of
and
yeah,
so
yeah.
it's really funny because there's a huge demand for it because we just had Evanescence here. Whenever Skillet come here, they sell out,
Hmm.
but we're also not. There's traditionally not as much in the Christian radio space for our well for our genre of music. But it's also because we're new, people don't know who we are, and it's like, where do you guys come from? How did you record an
Right.
album? And all this. But I also say is that we just didn't wake up and do this. We've been through a few iterations. We've been through a lot in our own life to be able to be at the standard and what we are now
Right.
as well. It's not like we wake up and bang, we can do this. So where I guess the way we view it is that we believe God will open the right doors, and when they open, like everything else that happened, we'll walk through them.
Yeah.
Um, um,
Just be
but
obedient
yeah,
and get the music out, right?
get
That's it.
get the
Yeah.
music out and
Just let God use it how he wants to and see what happens.
Well, cool. Where can people find out more information about JSP?
So we got our website, jsp.com. Um, and we're also on Instagram, Facebook. We're on Spotify as well. But yeah, we try to also upload this, like on our Instagram, there's a lot of reels and short videos on our YouTube channel as well, our testimony and bits and pieces of what we're about in the songs as well. And some fun snippets with recording the process and all that stuff as well. And on our website, we've also got a blog section where we actually write down, we've got the story behind behind the songs as well.
Hmm.
So yeah, yeah, so yeah.
Well, awesome. Hey, stick around. I've got some other things to be able to try to get from you guys, but for the time being, this is all we have. Thank you so much, by the way, for being our Artist of the Month highlight. We do appreciate what you've offered for us. By the way, Effect Radio listeners, you can score an actual hard disc, a CD of their music. So from here on out, do you guys have any plans on doing another album?
It's definitely something
It,
we're looking
it,
at.
it's a thought in the future, possibly.
Yeah, we're definitely keen to write more and to head back over to the States, and we'd love to do the whole process again. So I guess just coming off finishing this one and getting it out there, we've still kind of just come down from that a bit and just yeah, just waiting to see what God does and what doors he opens. So but yeah, definitely keen
Awesome.
to.
Well, James and Sarah, thank you so much for doing this interview with us. Again, stay on the line for just a few more minutes. But for now, we're going to go ahead and end it and send it back to radio. And God bless you guys and all the work you guys are doing for the ministry. Obviously, you know it's a difficult thing to stay in and keeping going. And I just want to say, we will be in prayer for JSP and the success of your guys' band as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.